Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneurs Show, where we celebrate the innovators driving change in the education industry. At Edison OS, we've worked with over 500 knowledge entrepreneurs to turn their edtech ideas into profitable businesses. Hi, Rajiv. Good morning. Welcome to the Knowledge Entrepreneur Show. Thank you so much for taking your time out for this.
Yeah, good morning, Jagmohan. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure to be part of this show.
Our pleasure as well. Rajiv, I was just going through your LinkedIn profile and your company's website, LilacBuds. Is that the way you pronounce? Am I
Yeah,
correct in pronouncing?
LilacBuds. Yes, absolutely.
LilacBuds. So I understand that you are in the study abroad and in the higher education consultancy category.
Correct.
But my first question would be this: how did you get into the education domain? Because you were in sales and you were in a differently complete industry a couple of decades back, I believe, right? So what was your first experience getting into education and how did that happen?
Yeah, so it's an interesting question and interesting story as well. When I started my career post my grad program, I was a pure sales guy, right? So my mindset was always sales, interacting with the people, communicating with the people, networking with the people, and trying to basically, sell the programs and the products, right? Whatever would come to my my kitty in terms of a KRA or a KPA, I'd always
Right.
do that. But back at my head, because I come from a background whereby it's a military background. My father served the Indian Army, and we had basically seen that kind of an environment, all through our lives, right? Then I'm a hosteler as well. During the hostels as well, we've had amazing experiences, right? My mentor had always told me that hey, you being an introvert, I was an absolute introvert, till
Okay.
my undergrad. I think the grad was the only time when I started thriving in a culture which is very diverse and so on and so forth. But I will go back to the question and say that hey, for the first 3 years, I was always in the sales and I was basically thriving and I was doing well, right? I did. But back then, I started really interacting with the student community as well. And then I got an opportunity to work with PT Education, right?
Right.
Run by Sandeep Manodane, one of the best guys that I have ever worked in my life. That's the time, he basically, got me on board for the sales only, right? I was the national head for the sales and I was basically doing institutional sales. And I was also doing media sales there because they had a, student magazine as well, correct? And I would basically, reach out to the universities, business schools in India and, get them to advertise as part of that was called Prep Talk. That I still remember, 2004, that was called Prep Talk. And I was really loving that.
Right.
He wanted to get into the study abroad, and I was very close to him, and he got someone from the industry as the leader to really nurture it, basically build it up from 0 to 1 kind of a story, and I was there, but that was not my forte, and I was not coming from that background as well, right? He got that guy, but unfortunately, he didn't really felt like he and him would basically carry the ship to the shores, right? So
Right.
he was in the middle of that particular, I would say turmoil. He one, I was in Delhi. He called me one day and said that hey Rajiv, I would want you to head the study abroad as well. I said, Sandeep, this is something which which is not possible. And this is a gray area for me. And I have never worked in that. He said, no, but I think, your approach and your attitude and the kind of a demeanor that you have, I think, you would be able to really thrive. I said that, yeah, I'm a good communicator. I interact well. But if you want me to really go to the seminars and so on and so forth, I might not be the right guy because, I had that fear in terms of, facing the crowd. At that point in time, and that was me. That was
Yeah.
Rajiv.
Yeah.
But he said, he insisted and said that, you come back to Indore. And I said, okay, fine. He got me tickets and I was on a leave for 4 5 days and he got me, there in the second day only, I said, no, there is some problem, something, which is very serious and he wanted to really see me. I told him that, hey, let's, board him as part of the captain as well. Let's have two captains really, sailing the ship instead of really, ignoring him and saying that, he doesn't really bring in something.
Right.
And that was the time that, because I was zero and he was 100% in terms of the study abroad. And I started reading. And that was the time when I got into that kind of an environment where reading became my first love, right? I started
Right.
getting deep into the university systems, understanding the processes, understanding what exactly are the ways to really interact and how we can interact. And what is the way, because I was very good at interacting and interacting with the people, but without having a knowledge about the industry, it was always difficult, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
First 3 months, I shadowed him. I shadowed one guy who was absolutely encyclopedia for the study. He knew everything, on his tips, and I would ask him
Right.
questions and he will get back to me. And then I was a little sharp in terms of really, absorbing it, and I would write it. I would keep it in my head. I started really applying it, right?
Right. Right.
And then I took a decision of really moving into it, and that was the first time that, hey, Rajiv transforming into a soul who was more academic at heart, but at the same time would really bring in transparency to the study abroad market in terms of helping students and parents understand, why they should take that leap, because that's very important. And that was
Right.
the starting point. I think, the first 21 months I worked there, I really set that up. But unfortunately, I had to really come back because he wanted me to be there in Indore, and I was a Delhi based guy. I had my family, my father and mother, right? So I wanted to come back. He would not really let me do. And then Career Launcher came in at that point, right?
Right. Right.
They had a study abroad option, but that was not doing well, and they literally poached me, right? And I started really working for them, right? And I worked there for 3 years. But then I started thinking about, hey, I've been working for an industry who doesn't really have the right framework, right? It's unstructured. Uh, Career launchers of the world and PT educations of the world and IMSs of the world who were already part of this system.
Right.
They didn't really have the right DNA for a study abroad, because study abroad, you know, animal is different than the cat animal, the Indian education animal, because your strategies should be different, the approaches should be different, the mindset should be different, because aspirants may overlap, but at the same time, the mindset of aspirants and the questions of the aspirants do change invariably.
Right.
If I'm looking for an Indian education versus an education in a foreign land, more questions will change, right? In terms of what would be the budget, what is the post study visa, uh, what is an H1B, what will I do in Australia, what will I do in Canada, what will I do in there, what's the kind of opportunities there. Should I go to Europe, because that's a land whereby the cost of acquisition is similar to India. So how will the languages, fare, and so on and so forth, right? And then that's when, in 2009, within that 3 years stint with Perry Launcher, that was really amazing. That was really amazing, and I really learned a lot, myself, because I was a self learner. I always wanted to really learn myself, because there I had my own control on what I wanted to learn, isn't it?
Right.
How I wanted to learn, and in terms of inputting me and helping me put things into perspective.
Right.
And that's when I started thinking, because entrepreneurship was always in my head, right? And I had been prepping myself since 2000 till for those 8.5, 9 years, in terms of I will have to really shape myself into an individual who has a passion for counseling, but at the same
Right.
time who has got the right, you know, aptitude and an attitude to be an entrepreneur. Right? To be an
Right.
entrepreneur is
Right.
not that easy. It's really difficult. That's when 2009 came in. Prior to that, as part of the career launcher, Veritas was one big item, and a joint venture entity. But unfortunately, they didn't really go well, right? And I had a great relationship with Chad and Marcus from, Veritas. I reached out to them and said that, hey, I'm trying to start myself, right? There are two options, either you give me your name, I will become your education partner in India. Though I told them that, and I'm an individual, right? And you might have to really trust me. I'm not an organization currently, right? But
Right.
I'm trying to really build it up. Right? Uh, and second option is that, hey, I can be your country manager, but I'll take your footprints to the, at least the metros and the cosmopolitan cities in India, and there's a big market and so on and so forth. Because they were in the test prep, and I told them, hey, test prep is in a certain pocket, and Veritas prep brand, when it comes to pricing it, the affordability would be in certain areas only. Affordability would not be everywhere, right?
Right.
But then they said that, hey, we trust you as an individual. We've seen you with us for the last 3 years. We will basically go ahead and, you can become our education partner. And that was a big thing for me. And I think, that was the testament to what I have done for that joint venture in those 3 years, starting June of 2006 till the June of 2009. Uh, and they were very, 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 very confident in terms of me taking it to the next level. And I carried this ship for 5 years, and that was time which was amazingly brilliant. As an entrepreneur, struggles, challenges, complexities, doing everything. I was a janitor. I was basically an operations guy. I would carry bottles to my consumers and the customers. Right. I will get my books printed. Right. Uh, I will do a little bit of marketing. I will not basically, throw money here and there. I would basically get the revenues and use that revenues back into the system. I've never taken back the money home. Right?
Right.
That,
Right.
that was a good strategy that I really did, as an entrepreneur, because most of the people, when I started up, everybody said that, hey, Rajiv would not really succeed, because this is not an easy market, right, to succeed. uh, but I didn't really listen to them. That really helped me in terms of uh, you know that perseverance of mine, the persistence. I carried this ship. uh, my family really supported me initially. As there is always a hiccup. He certainly, one fine morning, you are saying that, hey, from tomorrow I will not go, keeping everything under the wraps and under the and then, not and telling them that, from now onwards, we will have to really see how we utilize our own resources for some
Right.
months, because I will not really get something as a salary, right? So that's always something which really takes your family. And I was married at that point in time. Takes them back. But at the same time, I think, family is family. Family will always support. Right? Generally, that happens, right? It's a little pause, and then, there is a support, right?
Right. Right.
Like if at the back, you don't have to really worry, and that's how it works. uh 2006 15 16, I started thinking about, hey, if I had to really impact, let me have an impact, larger impact. And that's when I started leverage edu with one of my students, right, who had basically, and he was a very smart guy, and he's currently the founder at Akshay Chaturvedi. So we did that, 2000 till 2019, but I really uh didn't really find myself to be one of the captains to sail, right?
Right.
I never wanted to really make my life turbulent, so I had to. I just quit, right?
Right.
Quit from that organization, not from the industry.
Industry. Right.
I started really setting it up, and then now, in 3 years' time, and I'm very happy. We have built technology around all the facets of study abroad. Um, we have got our products which are inbuilt, right, which are so collaborated to an extent whereby we are using it for our own use as well. And as a SaaS product, the industry is also started adopting it, right? We
Right.
are we're soon are coming up with something for B2C as well, which is called LilacBuds as a brand, whereby students can really start from zero and apply through the technology. Right, that is a beautiful product. They don't need Rajivs of the world or any consultants, right? Just that, in case they need an intervention, that's a, you can pick up anything. You pick up a human intervention, a la carte, anything, right? Pay as you go model. Whenever you feel like you need to really have a call with, for example, I feel like, I want to call with Jagmohan. He is very, experienced and a subject matter expert in this. I would basically take 15 minutes of call with you for maybe 500 rupees or 1,000 rupees, and that really helps me in terms of also reducing the pain in terms of what I am basically paying to the industry. Plus, then my story is my story. I'm building my own story rather than, it's a cookie cutter system right now in the market. So that's a kind of a short, I would say, story that got me into the study abroad, and now I'm really loving it. Yes.
Great, Rajiv. Thank you so much for walking us through your, journey, your path. Couple of questions. You pointed out, a couple of things. You said when you worked with Career Launcher, when you moved from Indore to, Delhi, you said, and another reason I see a pattern here is that I have interacted with test prep coaches and consultants, right? Coaches also, when they start off, they would have been working with organizations like, Career Launcher, Princeton Review, whatever it is.
Correct, correct,
They
correct.
see some problem there, which is why they go out and solve a problem in a different way. And that's what
Correct,
even you've done. So what are
correct.
those problems? You said they are not kind of, set right for that study abroad market and stuff like that. What were the gaps that you saw that prompted you to kind of, start off on your own?
Yeah, so Jagmohan, the problem with the supplementary industry in India, which are primarily basically thrived in a market where they had primarily been in the test prep, whether that is, CAT or ZAT or, IITs and so on and so forth, they have never been successful in the study abroad market, be it SAT or ACT or be it GRE or a GMAT, is, because the DNA has, been different. And the problem
Right.
statement was that, hey, they wanted to really set up their own, curriculum for, and they would carve out a curriculum out of the CAT and make it a GMAT, and they would do a CAT plus GMAT kind of a scenario, and that's not really, I think that's not the right strategy or not right way to really, because
Right.
CAT is a different demon, GMAT is a different demon. you know there might be some similarities, but the way the CAT operates and the way that GMAC operates and how ETS really operates on the GRE front and what exactly is the algorithm and so on and so forth. Because when from in 2006, the CAT was not digital. Now it is digital. From the
Yeah.
last 5, 7, 8 years. But because they were not digital, so it was humanly being checked, or and so on and so forth. These were all adaptive, and they have their own algorithm, and nobody knows that how that algorithm works.
Right.
Everybody with the experience will really kind of understand that hey, somebody has scored 720 and somebody has scored 680. What could have been the reasons, right?
Right.
So those reasons, that would come with an experience. But this industry was not ready for that. See, the mindset is a problem. A, the mindset is a problem. B, they will feel that hey, it is one among the other products in the bouquet rather than in a mainstay like a CAT or a ZAT or an IIT or a or anything for that matter,
Right.
that exists in the industry. They've never seen it as something that can go as big as CAT, or better the CAT numbers, or the or the Indian numbers, and
Indian
that's
numbers.
what
Right.
the realization now is, because the CAGR at which the study abroad market is growing in India, because the aspirational
Yeah.
middle class has gone, it has broadened, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I do say that whenever I meet people, that I think by 2030, the lower middle class will have already transitioned into middle class, and the middle class would have gone into the upper middle class, and upper middle class would have been at the verge of getting into the rich, correct,
Right. Right.
right, elite class. So, and if you look at the lower middle class, that's 60%. And the middle class today, which is a 20%, is an aspirational India. But that 60% adding on to that 20% very soon is really helping the numbers to grow exponentially.
Right.
And that's what
Right.
is happening. That's what is happening. And that's what the industry is saying. That's what the Red Seer is saying, and saying that, hey, by the time we hit the 2026, I think, there will be close to 2.5 to 3 million students from India aspiring to go abroad. So destinations will broaden up, right?
Right.
Now,
Right.
look at the Germany has become one hot destination. European countries like Netherlands, France, right? Even for that matter, some of the Italian schools, some of the Spanish schools, some of the Denmark schools, and then Scandinavian countries. Moving. I think it's broadening up, and they are also really looking at exponentially growing their education. You know inbound, market. Because
Right.
hey, if you see that, the fiasco which started, the political fiasco to say so in Canada, between
Yeah.
Canada and
Yeah.
India, it is close to $30 billion of wealth being contributed by the international Indian students there, right? It's close to 250, 254,000 students, you know, with that, average of a 25 to 30. And then plus, then they stay there, they pay taxes and so much and so on and so forth. It's a domino effect,
Right. Right.
the kind of a contribution that the international students are, contributing to the economies of the some of the world economies is massive,
Yeah.
right? And they can't really do away with it. And that's why I think, the India was more stricter than Canada, isn't it? In
Yeah.
terms of visa and so on and so forth. They are still giving visas to the Indian students because they all feel that, they can't really stop visas. If they stop visas, 90% of their college system will
Come to a standstill.
stand still, and then, if it continues for a 1 year, 2 years, it will be part of an oblivion, right? And that
Yeah.
has what happened in during the COVID, right? I think 20% of the institutions globally have shut down because they were
Right.
not able to really, get that
Sustain.
money. Sustainability is something which is very important and a key factor for an individual to thrive, or a organization to thrive, or maybe the governments to thrive as well. Correct.
Right.
Yeah. So these are the major problems. I think,
Got it.
the mindset is the first thing.
Mindset. Mindset. Yeah.
Mindset is the
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
thing, right?
It's a
Because
very simple realization, but a very important one. I think probably which you could see, people like you could see, but unfortunately, people within the system weren't just able to see. They probably
it's
had.
a problem because, there are biases. No.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
carry your own biases. I carry my own biases. But at the
Right.
same time,
Right.
you feel that, hey, you are right. I feel I am right. So, it's
Right.
always that, if both of us really join, if we join only midway and we say that, okay, fine, this transaction will go at least a half mile or a mile, that doesn't really work. It has to be a long-term association. You will have to really accept me, and I will have to accept you. There has to be a freedom of really doing it. In case there can be some transactions in coming months and years that will happen, whereby strong education, study abroad educationists will basically join hands with these good strong organizations like career launchers of the world, and IMSs of the world, and so on and so forth, to really better structure the study abroad market. Today it's absolutely unstructured.
Right.
Nine,
Right.
I think 80% of the students are not being advised at all because of a that incentive model, right? That's a recruitment model,
Yeah.
right? 20% is something, who want to really get guided on. They get guidance from people like us, and they reach to the right schools and universities and the programs, and that really helps them in the long term. Because most of the people in the recruitment business is short term. Hey, I like, hey, this guy will send me to UK. Yes, he will send me to UK. What will you do in the UK? What exactly? What you bring to the table in the current context? How will you thrive there academically? In case your first purpose of life is to get the academic orientation, because knowledge, building knowledge around certain things, and then also utilizing the platform experientially would really help you take that next transition. Otherwise, your transition will not happen, and then you
Right.
will you will basically be so forced, right? And so compromised to an extent that you will take any odd job for that matter.
Right.
And that
Right.
happens. That happens. And that has been happening. I think you would have heard those stories. And we've been part of the system, and we do hear those stories, every now and then.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
That really happens.
Got it, Rajiv. Rajiv, you spoke about higher education, study abroad in India, the way it's growing. It's in fact just the beginning. And you also mentioned a couple of age groups, 25 to 30 and stuff like that. What is the split, do you think, between, there are two kinds of study abroad, right? You said aspirational Indian. Now, as a family, you aspire when your kids are just finishing their 12th. There's one section who wants to go abroad just to graduate, and then there are the majority of them who want to go for their post graduation, which is MBA and stuff like that. What's the split, and how are these both these sections growing?
So in India, the market historically has been a postgrad market, right? At a
Right,
postgrad level, the families would allow their kids to really
right,
go
right.
to, different countries to study, right?
Also,
But
the reason being, the students themselves would have become to a certain extent independent. They can take care of their own loan and stuff like
yes,
that.
because Indian traditions, Indian familial values are something whereby, we feel that, an 18-year kid or a girl would not be able to really
Yeah,
empathize, and then it's a girl child, for example, or it's we had been paratrooping at every stage of their
right,
life, and we've been part of their system and DNA and so on, so they might not really, so we had that fear of they not really doing well or succumbing or really having that kind of a stress, right? And that really was the only reason for most of our outflow of the students at the grad level, which is the PG level, in Indian context, but the grad level internationally,
right,
right? And then whether they would pick up. See, two markets, like you said, right? Two markets is aspirational India would always really feel like, but see, aspirational India is the entire 100%,
yeah, yeah,
because, but unfortunately, some of that aspirational India, right, wants to only go abroad, study being the medium, right? That's called study abroad, right? Study abroad is a term being coined, but most of the people, 80 to 85% of the people, want to settle down, right?
right,
They
right,
look for destination, safe destination, whereby they are allowed to stay there, correct? And
right,
they feel that, hey, generally when Indians do mental math, and say that, if I get an X dollar there, I, I'm multiplying it. They don't really look at the PPP model at all. They don't get into the other nuances, right? Which are very important. But unfortunately, that's not what is being told. I think, as an organization, if I was to be part of that system now, that
right,
85% of the market, I would want to educate people first.
right,
That, hey, it's okay to really, see those aspirations, take that leap, move into the country, but not at the expense of your career. Correct. You
right,
might really feel very, very happy on the day zero when you're taking that flight to that particular destination. After that, you are completing the grad program, whether that's a PG diploma, that's a grad program, 1 year or 2 year. Then, if you are not part of a good system or a good college or a good university, then you will suffer, right?
right,
And most of the times, then you will see yourself in that particular mix, whereby you would not be able to come back to India because you have taken that decision. You have basically forced your parents also to try to convince them. You're navigated through that process, whereby parents might put the foot down and ask those pertinent questions. But unfortunately, because the parent doesn't really have the data, student doesn't really have the data, right? Unfortunately, most of the recruiters in India do not really have the right data. They just have the process. Correct. They are the logistic partners. Yeah, they are the middlemen. They are the
right,
middlemen center. And I'm a student. You are a university. You are paying me 15%. So you are more dearer to me. And then if you are my direct partner, so I would always want to really send my student to you, because I will get 100% of the commissions, right? If I
right,
go buy media as a sub agent and work with some big agent who already has a 300, 400 direct tie-ups and sign-ins with the universities globally, then I am ready to really send him or her to that university. But for me, I still believe that, though there is no problem in being part of that business, I don't really say that, that's a wrong business to be in. But when you are in a business, because it is associated with the career, academics, education, so it is more noble, it is more pious, and you just have to make it sure that you're doing the transactions, but those transactions are purely based on the transparency which has been built through the advisory part. And then
right.
after that, it is, see, nobody pushes you to really pick a product or a service, right? Then
Yeah,
the ball is always in your court. But I have all given you all the data points.
right,
If I would want that industry to be like that. And if I'm envisioning that kind of industry, I will want that industry to be like this, right? More ethical, more transparent, and really stopping people, students, and saying that, hey, you build on these skills, right, first, and then take a leap maybe next year or maybe 2 years down the lane, so that hey, you don't really suffer. You're not losing any time if you go with this kind of a system. Then you will suffer. You will not get jobs, and you will have to really work
Yeah.
odd jobs. And that those odd jobs, being in the restaurant, being on the gas station, and so on and so forth, being in a pizza shop, and what not. I think
Yeah.
in India, the parents would not really want their kids to be in that particular shape or form, or in that kind of. But now what will happen? See, that's what I'm saying. That lower middle class has been coaxed to be aspirational. I don't know why. And
Right.
because of the, we follow people because the next door neighbor has gone to Canada, next door neighbor has gone to Australia, next door neighbor has gone to, then there is a stress. There is a societal stress as well. My son or my daughter has gone there, they're doing well. Today is a world of social media. Then, you have pictures, you have locales, you have, your kids studying somewhere, and so on and so forth. So it's an excitement. People are
Right.
building
Right.
excitement around it before they land a consultant. And consultant job is already been easy because, hey, we're following somebody else's dream, and I follow it, blindly to an extent whereby I don't know, what I bring to the table. See, if
Right.
I really get skilled in a particular shape or form, I will have to pick up the right academic program for that matter, isn't it?
Right. Right.
Or a VUCA kind of a program. It can be anything. Because if you have to skill yourself up, if you have to be in the tech side, if you have to be in the mechanical side, if you have to be into the automotive side, you just have to really be part of the right program. And before that also, your background should be like that, so that you are that particular background is a stepping stone for you. No, it's a foundation for you.
Right.
Most of the times, that's not happening. People who had been, who had done their BBA, they've been told that, hey, you can go to an event management program as well. Yeah, what will he do as an event manager? Because he doesn't know. For an event manager, the softer skills have to be something different, right?
Yeah.
With every job associated, your softer skills should really be absolutely apt, at least an 80% apt to that particular
Right.
hard skill. Only then you will be able to thrive and survive and succeed. Otherwise, you will always become a mediocre. You will always become a mechanical guy inputting those details in the Excels and the frameworks being created by the systems across. That's how it works.
Got it, Rajiv. And at Lilac Buds, I saw, three important courses that you, of course, you're mostly with consulting, but you're also tying up with some tutors. You're kind of curating that and all. And you have listed GMAT, GRE, and SAT.
Correct.
What is the, as you already said, India is mostly a postgraduate market, but SAT and ACT and that thing is also on the rise. So, where is it currently in terms of the split? Is it 90% for post graduation and
I think
10% with SAT?
our current split is 80-20, right? But we
Right,
are really focusing on the undergrad market, right? Because undergrad market, like you said, is growing at a better CAGR than the post-grad market, and it will continue to really do that. Right? I think the now, like I said, that historically post-grad thrived because of the familial values, because of the traditions, and so on and so forth. And people,
right,
families were
right,
now,
right,
comfortable in sending their kids after 18, after their K-12 or the 12th grade, right? But now that's open. I think, it, it has gone beyond the metros. Now it's cosmopolitan cities and the A grade and the B grade cities which are thriving, and where the infrastructure has developed. The school system is good. I think now that, push at the undergrad level has gone crazy. I think the
right,
numbers have absolutely, bloated so much, right? Exponentially to an extent whereby, most of the people are now really looking at getting hold of that market as well, right? And we are also absolutely looking at that, and we've had good, I would say, success in that, and we continue to really push ourselves and help the school going kids from 8th eighth, ninth grade onwards to really build the profile for the top schools as well, and at the same time give them a content, allow
Right.
them to really consume the content through our product which we are releasing for the school system. Our school product will be released in for the schools by the Feb of next year, 2024. Because our apply buds, the same product apply buds will be for the schools as well. Today apply buds is more a PG or a grad level kind of a orientation that we have already built, but we will basically take it to the schools as well. So generally now most of the organizations are looking for the undergrad as well, because there's a value creation. We have already created values for the postgrad market, but we
Right.
want to really step into the other market as well, and create that value proposition for our consumers, our clients, and help them really navigate through the process to make it sure that they are landing in right programs of their choice, which
Right.
basically resonates with what they bring to the table. That's how we want to really look at it.
Got it, Rajiv. And do you see this, because you use the word exponential? Do you see this becoming 80-20, from 80-20 to 60-40? How soon do you think,
I think in the
or
next years, 50-50.
sorry, next 3 years it's 50, it's going to be 50-50s?
50-50, yes, it will be a 50-50. I think the undergrad market numbers
Wow.
would grow. Absolutely, yes. It will grow. It will
Okay.
grow exponentially, yes.
Rajiv, please correct me if I'm wrong. From when I just made a very rough research as to how much it costs for a foreigner to do engineering kind of a program in the US, per year itself, it costs somewhere between 50 lakhs, I think, somewhere in that range. Is that
It
correct?
depends.
And
Depends which country are you going for. US, it's costly. UK is also costly, and Australia is also costly. Some of the European nations are not costly at all. 10,000 euros to 15,000 euros per year, right? But in
right,
US, I think it range bounds from a $20,000 to a 70,000, $80,000.
right, right,
Because there are in US the structure is basically private university and the public universities. Public universities do charge less, private universities do charge more, and then from India for those top universities, I don't think so. There is dearth of number,
right,
right?
right,
Looking at the undergrad market, you will see that less number of top schools give you scholarships unless until you have done something very special from ninth grade onwards, very special. And that is a 0.1% of the students in India who might really get that kind of an 100% scholarships.
scholarship.
Okay.
Got it.
But the cost, US is the costliest one, followed by Australia, and Australia is also very costly, then followed by UK, then followed by the European Union.
Got it, Rajiv. Rajiv, I'm just going to take a step back and go to a point, when you spoke about becoming education partner, or exclusive partner with JBM, right? You worked for a year and then you wanted to start off on your own. And so, just for aspiring entrepreneurs to give an idea, what is it to be a partner to such companies in India? And how is it different from, having your own company and then being a partner to such companies?
I will tell you that I was an exclusive partner for Veritas Prep in India, and JBM. Before I started my entrepreneurial venture, I was picked up by JBM, the current executive, I think MD, the managing director, right, and Shantaria, right, because he knew me. He was also looking for international education, and
Right,
that was kind of a relationship, right? And he was setting up something for the automotive design education system, so whereby he wanted me to really set it up, and I did that for 1 year, and then it was only for a 1 year stint, eight nine
right.
months, 10 months of a stint, and then I had to really start my own self. But I think see, as an entrepreneur, if you get something like Veritas Prep, and if an organization like theirs trusts you with their brand, I think you are carrying more weight on your shoulders. You just have to really, it's I would say weight. I would not really say burden. I am not using that word burden at all, because it's not a burden, it's an opportunity that
It's an
is,
opportunity.
yes. And you just have to really be with it. If you are not passionate enough, so you'll have to be absolutely passionate about what you want to do in your life before you set that up that I want to become an entrepreneur. See, it's an easy thing to say, but it's really really difficult, right? You
Right.
need working capital. You need to really look at how the market is. You need to be data driven. You need to be very frugal. You need to also make it sure that your customers are getting better deliveries of what your products are or services are. In our case, and I made it a point that I will bring in the best of the people to train. I will basically get them to a comfort zone, because sitting in a very in a normal classroom versus a 5 stars. I was the first in the industry to start classes in a 5 star setup, right?
Right.
Yeah. And I'd been the only one. Nobody has basically ventured into that at all, because it's not that easy. It's really costly, because people want to really take home a lot of money out of what they are churning out as a revenue. But I
Right.
wanted to really give that kind of a comfort to the student, right? Initially, there was a break, tea and coffee was served, everything, like I said that, I was the janitor. I was basically carrying, the water bottles, replenishing it, getting in touch with the hotel guys and getting the tea and coffee at the right time and so on and so forth. You know, the best of the teacher, giving them, 60-70% of the entire proceeds of the revenues and so on and so forth, to make it sure that, hey, your delivery is absolutely proper. And that really helped me build the narrative in the system.
Right. Right.
That Rajiv has something in everybody. It's not that hey, I was in a 5 star hotel. My cost, per class was high. No, it was absolutely industry, but I was 10-20% higher than the industry pricing. But people were ready, because at the end of the day is we were really focused on GMAT at that. I said that let me really ace GMAT first, because I don't want to get into GR. I don't want to get into SAT and so on and so on, because then I will stretch myself thin. Because
Right.
as an entrepreneur, you can't really do multiple things, and you can't really do them the way you want them to, right? Because
Right.
your focus
Right.
will get distributed, your time will get distributed, and you will not be able to really justify it, right? Very challenging, very overwhelming at the time, at times, when you are not getting back anything home. Very stressful. But at the same time, I think during my first six months to 9 months, I consumed all my limit on the CCs as well. All credit cards were basically used. But I knew that if I'm using it, I had that kind of a confidence as an individual, right? You know, than the
Right.
entrepreneur, because we are individuals. Entrepreneurs are we entrepreneurs are born, or they are not. We can't create entrepreneurs at all. The mindset is entirely different, right?
Right.
You
Right.
have to really have the you know build part of a steel, like a steel. You need to be built like a steel, right? Even if you are basically put in a furnace, you can you'll be shaped into a better guy next day, right? You'll basically not really look at what has happened historically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I carried on the ship. I think that is one beautiful
This is
thing.
the this is the 6 9 months phase you're talking about when you were partners with Veritas, right? When you
Yeah,
synced it
that was
off.
yes. Initial 6-9 months was absolute terrible as well.
Right. Right. Right.
Sometimes I'll go back and really start thinking that hey, have I taken a wrong decision? But at the same time, I was pushing myself as an entrepreneur, as an individual, that hey, you're taking that step, because now that think about it, that, in the next maybe 12 months you are not really getting anything. Are you ready to really utilize your own resources and so on and so forth? I did that. I went back to my family, my wife specifically, and she told me that hey, we can do whatever you want to do. And we I sold her jewelry as well, and she was absolutely okay with that. And I think kudos to her in terms of really parting ways with something which is very dear to the woman in India, right? But at the same time, I think that was a time we really that also built in me the confidence that I had to do something.
Right.
Um, with my effort, with my tenacity, I think with the confidence and the passion for what I wanted to deliver, prevail. Generally, it prevails if you stay, the perseverance is there, the persistence is there. And if you are not doing anything wrong with the customers, everything will basically shape up. And then what I did is, because I was very good at counseling as well. Correct.
Right. Right.
That was
Right.
one thing, and I started really doing the counseling, and I was at that point in time, I was charging 300% more than what the industry was charging for counseling.
Right.
And people were charging somewhere around 25,000, I was charging 75,000. And
Right.
students were readily giving me the money because of the fact that, I was giving them my time, telling them what to do, what not to do. I was really fair to them, transparent. And the results really started flowing in the first. Then the struggles, you have got great GMAT, 740s, 750s, 760s, right? Your 80% of the crowd was basically above 700, right? And then those those students became my counseling students. So, I multiplied my revenues, right? And that effectively helped me take something back home from the second year. But at the same time, 80% of what I was basically profiting, I was inputting it back into the system, and that really helped me uh, create a robust system internally as an individual. Then I had got my assistants as well, some counselors as well, some teachers onboarded 100% on, they were full timers with us. There were some certain part timers whom I was paying a lot of money. But every time I did, it was in a five-star hotel. I started with an Imperial in Delhi, and then from there to the Park Hotel. And I think, I did tremendously well as an individual, right, in terms of the entrepreneur. But yes, early days, entrepreneur really needs to really be frugal. Entrepreneur needs to know that what he wants to address, what is the kind of a pain point he wants to today, whether somebody wants to really digitize it, somebody wants to really be in the offline market, somebody wants to do anything for any individual who is starting up without
Right.
having any background. I'm a first generation entrepreneur in my family, the entire family, none of the others are in the entrepreneurship, and I'm the only one. Okay.
Right.
So it's not that easy at all, right? You need to really have at least working capital for 6 to 9 months. So, which is it all depends. It can be from a 30 lakh to a 1 CR. It all depends in terms of what's your expenses, and in which model are you basically in, and if you will have to trust your own abilities. If you start
Right.
really not trusting them, then you will anyways fail, even if you are great in terms of what you had done prior to that.
Especially when you partner with somebody, right? Yeah.
Correct, absolutely, yes. But my partnership with Veritas was absolutely smooth. It
Right.
was crazily smooth, and I think I have learned a lot from Marcus, Chad, and both are from the Yale, and Chad is also from Harvard. Right? We're still in touch, and most of the people who they have at that point in time for consulting as well, amazing guys, crazy guys, Jagmohan, crazy guys. I think that's a kind of an experience that really shaped me who I am today. But I have also always persisted. I still read so much. I do not really send any information to a student until I double check it myself.
Right. Right.
That is part of my DNA, right? I've been telling this to my own, you know, consultants right now. We've got 70 plus consultants, right, onboarded with us, right? We've got a good tech team. We're building some fantastic products and so on and so forth. So I think for anyone to really venture into entrepreneurship, I think A is trusting your own abilities. Money will not really build your business. It is your
Right.
passion to build your business. You give somebody a 1 million as well, he may not be able to really, do business at all with 1 million. I had zero money at that point in time. I had been able to really, you know, do wonderfully well in my life. Be it my white glove consulting with Veritas Prep, but be it Leverage EDU, doing tremendously well. Very happy for the brand because that's where my association was with.
Right.
Uh, Now with LilacBuds and what we are trying to build, for the industry. You know,
Right. Right.
Anybody can use our product, even even the current industry, partners or the organizations, they can use our product very easily, right? As a SaaS product, globally. Our product is a global product, right?
Got it, Rajiv. Rajiv, coming back to Lilac Buds and especially the tech that you're building around and stuff, because most of the consultancy companies are not, SaaS product companies and stuff like that. I was going to come to this point. So, can you? It's a very new thing, even for me, from whatever I've spoken to people. I've never heard of consultancy, study abroad people doing a SaaS product out of the business. So, can you share with us, like, what is it exactly and how does it work?
Yeah, so most of the times, 100% of the times, this industry doesn't really use a tech product or a digitization, digital product, for
Right,
their services at all. For their, day-to-day routine, their, I would say, engagement with their customers. Uh, Way back in 2020, when I basically came out of Leverage EDU, it was in 2019, and I started really thinking that, hey, we will have to make it sure that there has to be a platform whereby you're interacting with the student through the platform, you're collaborating with the platform, you're not using Google Docs, you're not using WhatsApp, you're not using any chats, and because you miss on emails, you miss on chats, you miss on everything, and then there is a hit on your NPS as well, and you don't know where student is applying, what data points he or she has, and you don't know what has happened to the task, you don't keep deadlines, and so on and so forth. So we started really weaving a product around that, and we started using it for our own self, looking at what are the pain points and how we can basically better it before we convert it into a white label. And
right,
then it took us 2 years to really build that up. It was not that easy, because today we have got a system whereby a student, from a diagnostic call to interview prep, is all digital. We have a video assessment like Akira Talent, right? We have
right.
a virtual interview prep tool where a virtual avatar asks the questions and
Wow.
preps the questions, and then you can basically submit that particular answer to your mentor. He or she will give you basically frame by frame, I would say, feedbacks, and that's an amazingly brilliant product. So tasks can be assigned, the deadlines can be assigned, what is the status currently in terms of the students, the document collaboration is there, right? And then we have got uh, you know we got writing assistant as well for a student, right? If they get stuck, a writing assistant, the AI model can be used to some extent, and because the AI model crawls back on what you have written and then suggests you something which is very I would say similar to what your story is not plagiarized, right? It's not its content. We don't let students to create the entire letter recommendation or a essay for that matter. So it's an
Right.
amazing product. It's an amazing product. If you want me to share my screen, I can show you at least a glimpse of it in terms of what LilacBuds can do.
Sure thing, Rajiv. Yeah, I think sharing screen is doable on this platform.
Okay. Yeah, I can show you something. This is mentor dashboard. Share. This is what my. Is it visible? Is it visible?
Yeah, it's loading. I think it'll take a few seconds. I'm still, the screen is there. The space is allocated on my screen, but I'm yet
Yeah.
to see. Yeah, I can see now. Lilac
Yeah.
Buds pending for
That's
review.
what,
That you're saying. Yeah,
yeah. It is pending for the review, right? I
right.
can. These are my mentees. This is what
This
what.
is from a student perspective, is it? No,
Yeah,
this is from an admin perspective,
this is from a mentor perspective, and
mentor
this is
perspective, right?
this is like what is the kind of interactions that I have had. These are the universities which have been shortlisted, correct? These are the documents which we have basically created. Uh, these are the completed tasks. These are the pending tasks. If the completed task, it goes like this.
Right,
Then you've got schedule calendar, correct?
right.
So I'll show you so that the viewers will also kind of understand that what we have already
Yeah,
built.
absolutely.
Correct. This is a calendar. So, for example, today is Wednesday. I want to really set up something like this. 8:30. This is 8:30 call. I want to really put a 30-minute call with Trishti. So I'm creating. So I've already created a slot for her, right? So
Right.
I have a scheduled meeting with past sessions in terms of what are the sessions, right? If I had some, this is video recording that we do on our platform, so it
Right.
also people can view, what they have done,
Got it.
right? These are the documents. This is created by me. This is created by me, right? And there is a share button as well,
Right.
correct? This is how some if I had to really, this is a loading kind of a feature, right? Shared by mentee, so the mentees have shared these kind of documents with me, right? This is
Right.
page 146, task, create task, and so on and so forth. This is action verbs, video assessment, like I said. This is a video interview, and this is a video essay. And for
Right.
example, video essay is there, right? So I'll show you something. This is amazing. This is just like a Kira talent, right?
Right.
Like this girl basically, view submission. I can view the submission, and I have given my feedback yesterday night. So she did
Mm.
like this. This comes like this,
Right.
Well, in such a situation wherein
right?
I am
So
giving a
this way, and then we've got knowledge library. So we can add a article here. Anything category can be. It can be interview, for example. That can be, how to prepare for MBA interviews. Author can be Rajiv and Jagmohan, right? Choose a
Right.
file, description, and so on and so forth, and save, and so on and so forth, right? So this is this is our product.
Great stuff, Rajiv. Yeah.
This is our product, and I think this is an amazing product, and this is now being used by Career Launcher and some of the other Indian consultants who have adopted our product, and we are currently also reaching out to the consulting fraternity globally as well, in terms of telling them how this product can really benefit them in terms of the oversight, in terms of basically building the NPS, in terms of really having everything in a one platform on the data, and that which university, the deadlines are part of that, and everything is part, right?
Right. Right. Right.
So it picks up, for example, student creates an account and says that he wants to really apply to an MBA program in UK, Canada, and USA. It gets inputted into in their in their portal as well. So once they start really looking for universities, they can basically shortlist on their own as well. That
Got it,
that
Rajiv.
that's on the student side as well.
Got it. And you said, you begin with a diagnostic call. So I'm not sure about, the postgraduate standardized tests, but, SAT has a diagnostic test because the test coaches, test prep coaches start off onboarding students from a diagnostic test point of view. So the diagnostic call includes diagnostic tests as well when you do it with your
Our
students.
diagnostic also, in case of a test prep, we are on a different system altogether. So how I do it, with my team, I tell them that hey, uh, you know, start helping students prep there, first, and before diagnosing him on in terms of mock test, because
Right.
he or she might really start failing himself or herself from day zero, because the score was absolutely terrible.
Right.
Then it might not really help. But that's a system has devised a strategy whereby the students are given a mock diagnostic assessment, maybe a shorter version of a SAT to understand that where they are in the current context, which is a one way of a strategy. But for me, if I become a teacher, sometimes I would basically train students first and tell them that no, now you are 30%, and you understand how on what grounds you will be tested, what concepts will be tested. So take it now and see that where exactly you are and where do you find difficulties in. And then once you are 180% prepared, then you start mocking them up more, right? Because 100% preparation is very different, right? You
Right.
can't really make students 100% prep at all.
Got it,
Hmm.
Rajiv. Rajiv, just one final topic that I'd like to touch upon, which is the most important for any business owners that deal with, any consultancy or coaching or anything, student acquisition. So, what are your different channels of student acquisition, and what's the primary one?
So I think the NPS is the best medium for a student acquisition. So I think the first year, second year, you can definitely if you are in a GMAT model or a SAT model, LinkedIn is one of it. I think Instagram is where you'll have to do Google AdWords, have to do. You have to pick up relevant keywords as well. You'll have to build your SEO. You'll have to start writing about those articles and so on and so forth. Your blogs should be relevant enough whereby Google starts crawling, and when thinks that hey, this is a good organization, and then your search engine becomes really optimized. You'll have to really start working on that. Today, after 3 years, we are on the first page as in a search engine as well as
Right,
an organization. And you would have really seen that. You just key in any of the date. MBA consultants in Mumbai, MBA consultants in India, MBA consultants in Delhi. So you'll find us on the first page. Even the MIM, even for an SAT, we are right now figuring on the first page in Dubai as well, UAE
right,
as well, right? So, and I think your referral is the key to
right,
business.
right,
Anywhere in the world, I think referral. That's why the NPS is very important. That's why we tell and suggest and advise people who are individual consultants or consultants who have a battery of 4 5 consultants managing 100 200 students for their study abroad top school consulting. I think using grad 7, we call this product, the vital product, as a grad 7 that we are
right,
using for
right.
LilacBuds as well, as a product or a tool to help them really in terms of building that efficiency, creating that kind of an NPS, taking away the stresses away, because you would know that hey, your deadline is this, you're at this.
Can you share what does NPA stand for? NPA or NPS that you were
NPS,
talking?
NPS, yes. Net Promoter Score, which
Right,
is through which you get a better referrals. Your results are there, and you get the testimonials and so on and so forth. So our testimonials are there. Uh, I am highly ranked on the question points as well. Though the only thing that I feel that I am lagging as as an individual. I am not really good at basically pushing myself on the social media
right,
a lot. You would not see me. There are some who basically do it, and I am thinking about at least putting at least a one article every week now, thinking that okay, fine, it will really help students and teachers and parents alike in terms of getting the right content and the right thought process for the next steps, because I don't want to really sell myself. That
got it.
that's me as an individual, but my organization, because if you are one of the captains, they would always want that a captain also drives in some kind of content, and that's where I think I will have to work, but because that's my own individual demeanor. I've worked like that. I feel personally that that content only gives you a visibility a little bit here and there, but that
Right,
doesn't give you the business, right? That would not really turn into a business, because you have to subtly start really selling yourself as well, through the content, which I don't want to do as an individual. That's my own preference, not
right.
what the organization should really be looking at.
Of course.
Organization should basically be very proactive, and their captains should also be very proactive in terms of putting the context in the social media, the relevant social media, and LI, and and Instagram. I don't really like Instagram because LI is still better for me in terms of me contributing content,
Yeah,
to
yeah.
the
In a professional
to the
setup. Yeah.
professional sector. Yes.
Got it, Rajiv. Rajiv, thank you so much for your time and walking us through your path and how you've built LilacBuds, and thank you for showing part of your platform. It was
Pleasure.
great stuff. Yeah. So thank you so much, Rajiv, for your
Yeah,
time. It
pleasure
was
is
great
all
having
mine.
you
Okay,
here.
sir. Yes, sir.